So welcome everybody. A good Monday morning to all of you, and thank you for joining us online with the Fairbanks Museum classes and programs that we offer. We're continuing to roll out a wide variety of different programming on our website, fairbanksmuseum.org, and we appreciate all of you joining us in Zoom, on YouTube live stream, or on Kingdom Access Television or your own local cable affiliate. We're listening to our teachers, so we'll be having a number of live classes in Zoom, but we'll also be offering a number of pre-recorded segments in the near future. And today we're excited to have you join us for At Home Science with Leila Nordmann, who I'll turn things over to in just a minute. First, for those in Zoom, I just wanted to point out to you that you have a couple options for interacting with us during today's class. At the bottom of your screen, if you move your mouse, you'll see a Q&A button sort of to the left of the center panel of buttons, and you can type your questions in there for us. To the right of that, you can also find a chat button, and some of you have already started chatting with us, but of course we welcome your comments and answers to Leila's questions in there as well. If you are on YouTube live stream or perhaps watching this later on cable access television, we wanted to let you know that you can always email us your questions either during class or after or ahead of another class. And you can email those questions to dbush@fairbanksmuseum.org. So without further ado, I will turn things over to our educator this morning. Her name is Leila Nordmann, and welcome everyone again.
Great. Thank you so much, Drew. I'm really excited. It's a lovely sunny day, so I'm hoping this encourages you to get outside and look for a few things. So to keep going with the insect theme, we're going to look at sort of creating newspaper pots and planting seeds and thinking about what butterflies will be needing in the near future. But for right now, I want to show you in the last week some of the insects that I recently saw. So as these days get warmer and sunnier, there have been a few more things popping out of the ground. So this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, it's a video, and if you look sort of in this general area, and I'll try to play it twice, but what I noticed on a really sunny morning, and notice all the leaf litter, it's kind of a grassy slope, and it's in the sun, it was just buzzing. There was just hundreds of what I thought maybe were flies, something moving around. So let me go ahead and I'll play this and just see if we can see as it moves, just looking in that corner, hopefully you see little black dots sort of going all across. And here, I'll, let's see if I can, I don't know if I can play it one more time. But again, there's just tons of activity and tons of buzzing. And so when I actually got closer, it turned out it was tons of tiny little bees. So what I thought was really neat is I wanted, take a few pictures and sort of understand why one section, other sections of my lawn, nothing. But this one section, this grassy slope with all of this leaf litter, had all of these bees. And it turns out they are a native bee called a cellophane bee. And we'll get to why they're called cellophane in a minute. But we talked last week about solitary insects that live alone. And this is another one. So we talked about the mud dauber. So you might see little mud homes on the side of your house. And that's for a solitary wasp. But this is a solitary bee. And one of the cool things about it, here's like slightly up close picture. The camera, it's a little fuzzy, but I want you to see that these bees are active in March and April, and they actually dig 18 inches down into the ground. So it's kind of amazing. There's these sort of thumbtack size holes that you can look for. And these won't sting you. Again, they're solitary. They have no interest in you. They're just doing amazing job of pollinating right now. So anything that is available, they are important pollinators to all early blooming trees and plants out there. So I think about like sort of maple trees starting to bloom. I'll show you some Coltsfoot, another plant that's blooming right now. But the cool thing about this group of bees, this cellophane, which we might think of also as like plastic, they actually protect their entire nest and the eggs they produce in what looks like a plastic coating. So they are protecting their broods or their eggs from any kind of moisture. So they can actually build their nests really close to rivers and things like that, because they use this plastic coating to protect their babies, essentially. And it resembles plastic when you see it. So it's this kind of really cool looking cellophane. So that's where they get that name. So, and the only other thing that's really great about these guys is they actually aerate your lawns. Creating those tiny little holes is actually really good for the soil and for water absorption and everything. So these insects are wonderful. And so again, not to be afraid when you see a whole bunch of them buzzing around, not to be afraid of them at all. They're just doing their job for us right now and for nature. So just paying attention to them and you can get really close, as you can see, and it doesn't disturb them at all. So the next one, sorry, this is a horrible photo, but this was something that actually landed on me. It's a Blackflat Firefly, April through August, and they're from North America through Central America, and their antenna, they actually have really long antenna, and they're actually related to lightning bugs, but they don't use sort of their light organ. They actually use a sense of chemical pheromones or smells that they put out. And the males will have incredibly long antenna, twice as long as their body, to smell out other of these type of lightning bugs. So it's really interesting. They have the light organ, but they will not light up like your typical lightning bug. And they're also out during the day. So you can see in my hand, this is out during the day and active. And then another thing I saw, which I thought was really cool, is a grasshopper. Now, I couldn't identify this one, but grasshoppers versus crickets. Grasshoppers have short antenna, which you can see this one really has probably very tiny antenna. Crickets sing by rubbing their hind legs against their wings. Crickets sing by rubbing their wings together. Grasshoppers stridulate or by rubbing, or essentially singing, rubbing their long hind legs against their wings. So you might be able to see there's sort of that long leg there, and it would rub against that to make that singing sound. Grasshoppers out during the day, and this was definitely during the day. Crickets generally at dusk, sort of as it becomes nighttime. And then one other cool thing I learned is that crickets have little ears at the base. Grasshoppers, my goodness. Grasshoppers have little ears at the base of their abdomen. Remember, we talked about the 3 body parts: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. So they actually have ears. It would be like having ears on your stomach, versus crickets, which have them on their forelegs or the front legs. So imagine having ears on your arms rather than your head. So these guys are pretty cool in that way. And then the next thing I found is, let's see if you can find it. I'm not sure. Hopefully it shows up, but it does blend in pretty well. But I found a moth that I actually mistook when it first was flying for a butterfly because it was very colorful. But this moth is actually called the infant. That's the name it's given. It's a moth that comes out mid-March to early April. It's colorful, and again can be mistaken for a butterfly, and sort of flits around. So it stays low to the ground, so you can see it. And then as soon as this one landed, I was able to run over and take a photograph of it. So that was something I was very excited about. Because I still haven't seen any butterflies, but we're going to prepare for those butterflies. So one of the things I want to show you is, what are these various insects going out and finding? And this is one of the things that sprung up. I just saw last week. Now I'm seeing it everywhere, but it's called Coltsfoot. And what I want you to notice is it's actually, as it pops up, and over here you can see too, it pops up as a flower first that a lot of people think looks a little bit like a dandelion. But the nice thing is that the way you can tell it from a dandelion is it has no greenery, no leaves pop out with the plant. This is actually a different plant because these leaves, when they do come out, are huge, and they grow all season long to sort of collect up all the sugars and nutrients they need to be one of the very first flowering things that you will see this time of year. So let's look at a few of the other things that insects and particularly butterflies, like the mourning cloak, might be interested. Oh, and I just want to show you a lot of times you'll see coltsfoot and it'll grow in kind of clumps. You'll see a whole bunch of it. But again, this greenery has nothing to do with the coltsfoot. It's just the flower that you're seeing pop up. All right, so this is something you'll also notice, especially right now, you think about sugaring season and the sap running in the maple trees. Well, the sap is actually running in all different types of trees. Here is the pine sap, which insects may feed off of. And then in this other picture, this is a cherry tree where you can see that it's starting to weep. There might have been a little cut there, maybe from another insect, but this idea that it's beginning to basically ooze out, and this is all wonderful sugar. So this is some great food source for our butterflies and other insects that are flying around and out right now. All right, and then I'll show you our last one that you can look for. And it's something that people kind of surprise people, especially when you think about butterflies and how beautiful they are, but butterflies will also land on animal dung. And so this here that I'm showing you is what I believe to be from a coyote. And one of the reasons I can see something that it looks like it ate something very furry at some point. So either maybe a little bit of deer hide or maybe a snowshoe hare, but you can see that it ate something very furry. But this is something where butterflies and other insects will actually land on this and get minerals from it. So not only they're getting sugar from the sap, but they're also going to dung and finding minerals. So it doesn't have to be a wild animal dung either. Your very own dog or cat may attract when it leaves its feces around. It will actually attract these butterflies and other insects, just to know or to note. So what I want to do now is I'm going to stop sharing my screen and come back and just take a look at some of the plants. While I was out there looking at all these various insects, I was also collecting up various different seeds of plants. And so I'm not sure, does anyone have any idea what this was a year ago, or came out of the ground in summer? It was actually Queen's Anne's lace. So it was a big white flower. It's related to the carrot, or in the carrot family, and it has all of these seeds. So I was able to grab that and start collecting a few seeds off. And what I'll do is I'll show you an up close of some of those seeds. Another one that you might recognize, I found some of these pods, and inside this pod, it might fall out, but there's a number of seeds. But does anyone have any idea what this might be? Has anyone seen milkweed pods? Again, something that's really easy to find. All of these I found right on the side of the road when I was going for a walk, so very close to the house. So again, milkweed seeds. So I collected up milkweed seeds, Queen's Anne's lace seeds. Another one is sort of the Blackeyed Susan, and so I was able to find this really easily. And again, I'll show you a picture of these seeds up close. But as I shake it out, just tons of seeds fall out of all of these plants because they're dried, they've overwintered. So they're perfect time to start planting them. And granted, they're gonna plant in the wild, but I just wanted to bring home some seeds or some various different plants that you could find on your daily walks that you could collect up. And if you plant those and then put them near your house, you will be attracting all kinds of butterflies. And I'll talk about why in a minute. But this again, there's tons of different goldenrod out there. This is a late sort of fall bloomer, and it's a great one, especially for any kind of migrating insects. So we think of monarchs. Turns out red admirals will and painted ladies will migrate much shorter distances, but they need all of that sort of sugar or nectar that these flowers are putting out in order to make that long distance trek. So let me go ahead and I'll share my screen again because I just want to show you some of those seeds up close. There, so here is, remember I talked about that Blackeyed Susan. So this is actually the entire sort of seed head, and there's, or the flower, the petals used to come out here, and this is sort of that middle black part. And all of these, a lot of the seeds fell out, but you can see quite a few seeds are left in here. And so just to show you in comparison, here is that Blackeyed Susan seed. And then here is actually a milkweed seed. So much flatter, much bigger, very different looking, but these are two seeds that you can easily plant, easily find in those plants along roadsides to collect up. This is actually the Queen Anne's lace seed, and you can look how it's different. These, this one, you can actually just shake the top, so wind would actually carry or transport this one. This one, you would actually find silk inside of the pod. And so as that pod burst open, again, wind would billow or push, as that silk sort of got pulled out by the wind, it would take this seed along with it. But this one's a little different. This one might look also something like if you've ever gotten burrs on you when you've done a walk, that's burdock seed attaching to you. Queen Anne's lace is similar. It actually, as you walk by, it might attach to you. It has a, so if you'd have to rub up against it to take it with. And another thing is that sort of cone shape that it makes when it closes up as it shakes out as the wind blows as well, it blows those seeds along. But this one also has sort of those hairs in order to attach to something walking by. Let's see. All right, and then this is our, what we would call the goldenrod. There's so many different types of goldenrod, but that's just the goldenrod up close and seeing how sort of fuzzy it is, but then those seeds way down deep in there. So again, these are sort of the dried versions, the seeds from plants from a year ago that we're able to collect up. But I just want to show you the reasons we're planting these is here is your Blackeyed Susan, right? We were just looking at that sort of seed head, but here's the whole petal. And this is a great plant. Here is a red Admiral, a butterfly that you would see later, in summer. That feed or nectar, we would call these nectar plants. And this is something that it's where a butterfly might collect up that sugar that it needs to feed on in order to, continue its life cycle, basically, to get enough sugar to either fly a distance, lay eggs, find other plants that it would feed off of. But this is one of them. And so this is one of the reasons we would plant this those seeds that we found earlier. But then I want to show you a difference is a host plant. So I showed you milkweed. This actually is milkweed here. And this is a female monarch. She's laying an egg on it. But if you look right there, you might be able to see a caterpillar. So this is a plant where we would call it a host plant. And a host plant is a plant where the female will lay her eggs on it, and it's usually only like in the monarch's case, it's only milkweeds, only something in the milkweed family will they lay their eggs on in order to raise their young, which are these caterpillars, which again you can see here. So a host plant is sort of like the nursery and a place where the caterpillar can feed on the plant itself. It turns out milkweed is also a great nectaring plant. Those beautiful purple flowers that it makes that smell really lovely. Those have a lot of nectar as well, but this is primarily a host plant for our monarch. This is mallow, which is another host plant. And then these are actually the painted lady eggs. So I just wanted to show you, they will lay their eggs on this. There's, at this time, it wasn't in bloom, so they wouldn't be drinking from it, but they definitely are using it again as their nursery, the place where they lay their eggs, and those caterpillars will grow eating that plant. And then I just want to show you another one. This is a black or Eastern black swallowtail, and she's laying her eggs again, if you can see right on sort of the tendril of this plant, which is a dillweed or dill plant. They also love parsley, which you can see in the background, and carrots. So this is another, and this is another one that likes the Queen Anne's lace because that's in that same family. And then just to show you the larva or the caterpillar, they get quite large and quite beautiful eating, again, this plant. So this, again, is a host plant that we are looking at there. All right, and let me see. And then I just wanted to show you one butterfly that this was from last year. This is in May, but if you can sort of see the outline, you can see the antenna and the eye and some of the legs. Here's the abdomen and our, front forewing and hind wing. This is called a spring azure. And this is a butterfly that I saw last year on May 5th. So something to look forward to. The morning cloaks should be out. I haven't seen one yet, so but I'm keeping my eyes peeled. But again, this one, when it opens its wings, it actually has a beautiful blue coloration on the inside. And that's something to look for. You'll see a bright, brilliant blue. They're also about the size of your thumbnail. They are very small butterflies. But if you see brilliant blue flying, and usually you'll see them on your driveway, like here, because especially the males, they're looking for salts. That would be minerals and salts that will be in your driveway. And that's why you tend to see quite a few of them all at the same time. And those males are gathering up those salts, and so that they can reproduce with the females once they find them. All right, so now I want to switch, there we go, back over, because I would like to look at how we're going to take those seeds that we found and actually plant them and do it in a way that's, using materials and things that are easy to find at home. So what I want to do is show you how to take newspaper and make what I call a newspaper pot. And this is something that you could actually fill with dirt. It's simple to make, and then you put your seed in it. Granted, you have to have something underneath it because obviously it's going to leak water. So I put like a plate and I put it there, and then I put it in the sun with a little soil, my seed in it, water it. And then as the plant grows, the beauty of this is you can take this newspaper and plant it right in the ground, and it will actually disintegrate. It's paper, and then generally the ink is like soy based. So it's fine for the environment, and it's a great way of recycling your newspaper, something that you have in your house, but you're giving life. You're planting a seed that will either be a host plant or a nectar plant for a butterfly in the future, and other insects. We did see those bees as well. So it's important to remember. So I'm going to stand up, organize here a little bit so that I can show you guys how to do this. So let me see if I can. So we want to have our space here. So in order to make, this small pot, we just need a few items that should be easily found. Hopefully, if you save these, this is a toilet paper roll. This is a very, very simple way of rolling up, but this is a great size. It's easy to work with. And then the other thing you need, and I just got this newspaper in town. It's one of the small free flyers that you can get. What I would actually do is rip it in half so that you're only working with one piece of the newspaper, one side of the newspaper. Whoop. Make sure your things don't roll away. And then what I want you to do is actually to take that newspaper and fold it, and notice how I'm doing it the long way. So we have quite a bit of newspaper to work with. So it's folded, but the long way. And then you want to make sure that the part that here's your folded half, and here is your edge half. That is the part that actually you'll have more on this side than this side. So this is going to be the top of your pot, and this is the bottom of your pot. And I'll show you why we want to do it that way. So that newspaper is at the edges are at the bottom, and then you will roll it very gently all the way up. And when you're done, you'll notice, so here's that sort of open edge of your newspaper. You're going to actually fold it in to the bottom of your toilet paper roll, so it's relatively sort of flat and closed off. Then you want to take your toilet paper roll out, using your fingers, if you can, to crush down that bottom. So now it's nice and closed off, but it also will stand on its own. And then the last piece is just to actually fold the top in just a little bit on itself so that it doesn't come and this one was a little short, unrolled. So the idea is, so my first example is a little bit better. See how it folds in so that top, it doesn't, like I can shake it, it won't come apart. whereas this one is a little loose, so it might come apart. So if you want to really do it the right way, you'd fold that top and in just a little bit so that it would close up really nicely and sort of seal itself off. And from there, I'll grab some soil, but the idea is that you would put a little bit of soil that you might be able to find either outside, or maybe you have some stuff for potting right now, soil. And I just fill up the bottom of that, and I try to keep it all on my plate there. And then I will come over and grab one of my milkweed seeds I'm going to start with. And I would actually just drop it down in there. And then just remember just to poke it down just a little bit underneath the soil. And then you can go ahead and water that and actually just bring it over to a sunny place in the window and start your growing process. And I want to show you guys, this is, how to make your newspaper pot. You can also use all kinds of other recycled materials, like a can works perfect. I like to use these. They're, I eat a lot of yogurt. And so it has a clear top, which is really helpful. So you can close it off to keep the moisture in. And I can show you, I actually started some plants last week. And so hopefully you can see in there. And so again, this is a nice way of growing them. I close it up, I water it, put it in the window, and then it sort of keeps the moisture in, since it's a kind of a dry time of the year. And it's just but you also make sure it doesn't mold, so to keep the top on and off. But with your newspaper, you just have to keep an eye on it. As it dries out, go ahead and water it again and watch your plant grow. And then again, put it right into the soil, into a space outside where you'd like to attract butterflies or other insects at that time. So hopefully it makes it really easy for you. Just some simple supplies, newspaper and a toilet roll, and then some sort of plate. And that's sort of the simplest way you could do it. Otherwise, going into your recycling and finding other containers that work really well for you once you get all of your seeds collected up. So that's kind of the first thing. And you can see I put mine all on here. You can see that the Blackeyed Susan comes out really easily. There's just tons and tons of seeds. So that's an easy one to find and work with. All right, so, and again, all of this information will be on the, I'll make a resource page so that you guys have the step-by-step process. All right, excellent. Do you have a question?
Yeah, somebody just emailed to ask maybe if you could show them each of the plants and their seeds one more time. I know you just had that out.
Sure. And I can go back. So this is the Queen Anne's lace. This is the one that looks like it has little hairs or sort of claws on it, which I'll show again. This is the milkweed pod. So this actually has all the seeds attached to it. There's a seed here at the bottom. But just to show you, the seeds are good size. This one is much easier to see, but I'll show that up close again. The other one is the Blackeyed Susan, which has the seeds in sort of the cone part of the head, and they come out really easily. I mean, there's just tons of seeds, but they're much smaller. And then the last one, which is sort of all over the place, is Goldenrod, all different types of species here, but they're another great plant. And those seeds are sort of tucked inside. But I can, here, quickly, I'll go back to this part, just so you can see those seeds up close again. So again, Blackeyed Susan, and this is the actual seed. So you can see it's much smaller than our milkweed seed, which is sort of large and flat. And when you see the milkweed seeds up close together, they layer and look almost like a pine cone inside of the milkweed. So if you find a fresh pod at the end of this year, towards the fall, it's really cool to take a closer look at how they form and overlay, looking like a pine cone. And then this is the Queen Anne's lace. This is the one that sort of can hitch a ride with you or blow in the wind, depending. But it has what looks like little hairs on it as part of the seed. And then this is the final one where you see some seeds tucked in there, and in the goldenrod itself. Oops, and that's what your Blackeyed Susan would look like once you actually raise it, in your newspaper pots. So come back out and just see if there's any other questions at this time or anything that people would like to ask. Again, I'll have the sort of, I have it in photograph form just to show you how to make these newspaper pots in case people weren't able to watch today. And then just have a few listings. I I'll recommend a couple books. I love Peterson's Guide to Moths. This is it's really cool. And there's just tons of pictures you can't get over. Look how many moths there are just in North America. It's sort of unbelievable. And my other favorite one is Butterflies of the East Coast. This is another book, so I'll make sure that those resources are available. And they just, again, list out butterflies, where you'd find them, time of year, and what they would look like. So those are just two things that I think are great and will inspire you then to find those plants and start growing them. So that's where I'm at, but I don't know if there's any other questions or if we're good.
Oh, actually, I think we are all set. And just to let people know, those resources Leila is talking about will be up on our website so that you can find them a bit later today once we have the version of this class up there as well. So, of course, you can look at fairbanksmuseum.org, and that's where you'd see these. We'll actually put them under the Learning tab in virtual learning. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us today, whether you've been in Zoom or on our YouTube live stream, or maybe you're watching this later on your local cable access. A big thank you to Leila Nordmann for teaching us at-home science again, so that we can all have a project to do this week. And just want to, again, thank everyone for being here, and wish you a happy and good day today.
Thanks. Bye.